Hey, good afternoon. Just checking in. Checking on you. So a lot of people don't understand spiritual warfare, the spiritual side of everything. Of course, in the beginning was God. The Word was with God, was God, and created everything that was good and very good. Seventh day, everything was good and very good. So we jump to this time. There's these open satanic portals, and there's different creatures that come and go through these portals, and they feed on your fear. Okay, fear to them is food. So they feed on your fears, and that's what keeps the gates of hell open, keeps these portals open. So there's a lot of properties around here that we scouted out in the past to where, the demons come and go. And they're allowed to because the bastards, the ones that don't know who their daddy is, because God's the father of all. God said God created good and God created evil. um, but not God's fault, though. On another note, it's our fault if we're feeding the demons our fear and attracting the demons, and that keeps the gates of hell wide open. So in Florida, everything goes fantasy fest. It does in a lot of places, Louisiana, certain places, then certain cities and certain towns, where the gates of hell are wide open. So, though you walk through the valley of the shadows of death that cause death, um, you could easily be killed unless you're truly one of God's people. Because in this time we talked about the codex back a few hundred videos ago. The law is written on your heart is the codex law. Love God with everything you are and love thy neighbor as thyself. The two commands that Jesus gave. So there's many alive in this time that will not and cannot die. And that's going to change a lot to where the enemy's going to try to kill them and they won't die. It's just like the witnesses. So back in the time when General George Washington, we talked about many times, when he was in the battle, and then when he got back to the fort, he threw his coat over the chair, and then he noticed there's bullet holes in his coat, but he's looking at his body because there's no bullet holes in his body, but bullet holes in his coat. So it's as time went on, Indian chief, said he wanted to meet the man that the Great Spirit, Holy Spirit, was protecting because they knew they shot him several times. And I don't know, I remember how many bullet holes are in his coat. You can Google that because it's part of history. But see, people don't talk about this. That's why we lose the war. 12-11, we win by the blood of the Lamb, cancel all covenant contracts, and we win by the word of our testimony. So that testimony alone should have rocked a nation and transformed a nation. But then people forget about God and let the gates of hell go unchecked and let the demons in through their fears. And if people do nothing, that's bad. Just as when Eve was being deceived, Adam was in agreement. Adam didn't do nothing. He didn't say nothing. He was supposed to be the spokesperson for God and didn't do nothing at all. So as these gates of hell are wide open to swallow up many. And spiritual warfare 101, like we talked about, so people have to be scared in order to reach many alive. They have to really be scared of the devil so they'll run over to God and get the way, the truth, and the life because their fears keep the gates open. So it's a long story, but spiritual warfare. So these creatures are lurking and they're waiting to come over from, you could say it's like another dimension of time to come in through these portholes to devour. Just like, you look at the myths of Wolfman and Wolf and Chupacabra and, Wendigo and whatever the different names. It's actually true. And like the Skinwalker Ranch, to where, portals and gates of hell left unchecked. And then the guy from Bigelow, he was the one who started the Budget Inns. Then he went to Bigelow Aerospace. I don't know if he's still missing. He was missing a few years ago. Yeah. But so they have all these spacecraft. The private sector had taken over. NASA was just kind of a smokescreen, flying a dinosaur called the space shuttle, while we have all kinds of flying machines that can go in different dimensions of time, as well as go to different planets and whatever. In spite of you flat Earth people think we're living on a frisbee. Frisbee's a pie plate. Did you know that before it was called a frisbee? So just like in Back to the Future, remember, for frisbee pie plate. So believe what you want to. Be flatlined or be of God, and close the gates of hell. Man made a song. Going to the gates of hell, taking what the enemy stole. The enemy stole the land, stole the people, stole all your gold and jewels and cash, and put us in bondage to thousands of years of debt. So trillions and quadrillions of dollars. And the money's turn is a debt instrument. It's not a blessing, it's a debt instrument. Instrument to cause debt and death. So as we get coming into this new era to where the super jubilee, where all debt is wiped away and we start over, and we're not indebted to anyone, because that makes us their slaves. So right now we've been in slavery for thousands of years. And then a lot of people don't read the Bible, the book of Acts, and thereon. And then they keep taking books out of the Bible. So even like the book of Enoch talked about, after the wicked are removed, and then being caught up, Paul talked a lot about being caught up. And it had nothing to do with being taken out or one in the field and one taken. One is taken, one was stolen, one died. And the one that's left in the field is the one that's working, because we are the church. Church means sent one, sent out. And Jesus, as long as he finds you working, okay, so Jesus is not dead. And we're not waiting for this massive hocus pocus Hollywood production, this Disneyland mentality for him to come back, because I see him all the time. A lot of other people see him all the time, and he's actually witnessing to Muslims himself, because we've been a bad witness. We've been a bad witness. So as we close the gates of hell, and a lot of people don't understand it, because these principalities and high places, are canceled to some degree, but then there's the territorial demons we talked about that don't want to give up their territory. Now they're blocking your blessings. So imagine this: if you had a black cloud and you just pushed the cloud away by praying, all of a sudden people will be healed instantly, because they're blocking your blessings. So the bastards that are on the stages of life, in governments and Christian leadership, that have no Christ in them, are blocking your blessings. And then they'll open up a little prayer meeting, and you get a few for percolation of prayer. And the blessings and miracles, little percolation of miracles. But unbeknownst to most people, they're blocking your blessings. Block, block, block. And then they allow a couple blessings to come through. So when you take over a city, the ecclesia, which is the true church, the sent one, sent out, the disciples, when they take over a city, they don't take no for an answer. They're taking your city by stealth, by Jesus, undercover, unbeknownst to the leadership. In other words, to knock them off their stages, off their keisters. Just like Ananias and Sapphira, fall over dead. So, however God needs to do it in this time, He's going to do it every which way He can. So, if you take like this massive black cloud, let's say darkness, hovering over the area, because like here in Manatee County, there's like 300 different ministries minimally. There's probably 400 or 500 by now. Because back in the day when they found out God was going to take this area, and the reason why God would take this area is because of spiritual mapping, because we sat with Jesus and He showed us the maps and how the devil took the area and how we're going to take it back. But not anybody can do it because a lot of people aren't sold out. A lot of people are false Christians. They're just Christian in name only. They just rub elbows. So, in order to take a city, you have to bind the strong man, the principality. Then you have territorial demons. Now, territorial demons work through the pastors and teachers. They're not the apostles and prophets. They have hijacked the church and they're blocking your blessings. So if you can imagine, if you could just take that massive eraser of God, spiritually speaking, but it's done through prayer, and erase all of these, knock them off their stages, and then all of a sudden, the whole city would be healed. If they have a broken leg, broken arm, a missing leg, all be healed instantly. Once we take out the false leadership. So now they're doing it in government. Now, the church, the false church, is same as the government, their leadership. And they're territorial demonic, just as the government has territorial demonic in them, even though they're doing away with these cartel, these fentanyl pushers, the ones that are pushing death. You know, fentanyl's heroin's best buddy. Heroin is a woman of death. Fentanyl is like the man side of death, 86th right away. So symbolically, so you can imagine if we just take out the ones that are blocking God, then the earth would turn back into Garden of Eden in your city, in your county, in your town, even on your city block. So they are casting spells, bad spells. And then a lot of people who read the book that don't understand spells says, we got the gospel, we got the gospel. But look it up, spell. Spell is a sentence, a paragraph, a word, a letter. They're casting spells of sleep over you. So you don't wake up. So you're just a zombie. You gotta wake up and hear what God is saying and see what God is saying. And then when you read the scripts, not a Hollywood production, you see it with spiritual eyes and realize, whoa, wait a minute. They are hiding knowledge from us. These people standing on the stages are hiding knowledge from us. They want us to go to a dog and pony show. Oh, we're having revival over here. Bring cash. Well, wait a minute, we have Cash App. And then you go home, get all depressed, the enemy's still sleeping under your bed and in your closet. Hanging out at your house. The booger man's still at your place. And they're not empowering you to be the men and women of God. That's a major difference, you know, when you test someone, find out they confess Jesus lives, died, and lives, his spirit lives within you, resurrects in you. Because if they can confess that, all the demons have to leave out of their vessel now. And nobody's testing these bastards on the stages. Now, bastard is not a condemnation word, it just means somebody doesn't know their daddy. Now, they have to know their daddy. Otherwise, they'll be dead. See, Paul said he had to give some over to Satan. And that's when they symbolically kicked the dust off their feet. So when they went into a town, because they just wanted to live by the flesh, die by the flesh, dust you are, dust you become, the curses, He said, there's a sign unto him, kick the dirt off your feet when you leave town, and don't turn around and don't come back and leave that town for dead. Now, this has been happening in the last 20 years because some cities were torched. Some cities were blown up. Some cities had hurricanes that, like Western North Carolina and the barrier islands down here in Florida were wiped out. And the problem is they rebuilt the satanic altars. Now, how many times are you going to allow this? How long are we, the body, going to allow this? And it's supposed to be we, not me. That's the biggest problem. And then you meet these people, like evangelists, they despise the prophets and apostles because they love all the attention they get out in the streets. Stand on a soapbox and preach and pray a little prayer for me forever and ever. And stand on the soapbox and people throw money at them. They get a nicer van, a nicer sound equipment and whatever. And they're not discipling. You take somebody out of the world and you don't disciple them, now the enemy's going to come back 7 times worse and devour them. It's in the script. Same thing happened here in Bradenton when we had all these meetings and tried to get the leadership together. And they want to do it all on their own without God. And they got beat up. Pastors died. Pastors' wives died. Devoured by the devil. You can be devoured all you want. Not my bad. I'm still here. Even though I moved to the Bible Belt to do some spiritual work up there, I'm still available. But a lot of people that come up just want the stuff. Like you have Satanists, like every once in a while a witch or warlock wants information. Why can't we share information? I told them, because you're not of God. Why would I share God's information with you? Because then you're going to manipulate, coerce, and control and become a better warlock. Lock people up in war that'll never be won because the people perish for lack of knowledge of the devils and how they control. Even though David was just a little short guy, he took down those giants, which are the Nephilim, that were cursing God, the offspring of the fallen angels become giants. He took those giants. They talking bad about his God. Can you take these giants? Well, it's a body now, not a single person. Not King David, not Paul, it's a body of Christ. Oh well, I'll keep preaching. Check on you again, like and subscribe. Spiritual warfare. Gates, portals wide open unless you close them. By humbling yourself and praying. Amen.